Hi, I'm Coach Hunter Zhang with a video presentation on how to set up and take down the nets here at Aptos High. Two items that you'll need to locate before beginning setup are the hook, which opens up the plates and the floors that the poles go into, and the wrench, which can be used to tighten the nets. Once all the floor plates on the court have been opened up, we are ready to transport the poles to the court. Please take extra care as you are moving these poles, as they are heavy and kind of awkward. To release the poles, press up here, open up, and we can slowly lean the poles over to take them to the court. Before bringing the net over to the poles to continue setup, we're going to make sure that the poles are properly prepared. We'll make sure that the arrow on the sign is pointed towards the center of the court. We'll make sure that the wheel at the top is facing directly into the court. And finally, for the crank side poles, we're going to add a little bit of slack so that the net can be placed with ease. To do that, pull this lever away from the spin wheel and add a little bit of slack. This is how our nets are stored, and in order to take them over to the courts, all you have to do is begin to unravel them from the storage system. You may notice that the two ends of the nets are slightly different. At one end, there's only one loop, and at the other end, we have a series of loops. The series of loops go with the non-crank side, while the singular loop goes with the crank side. Depending on the height of the net we're going to set up, we will use a different loop on this cable. We will use this loop for a women's net, and this loop for a men's net. To help secure the cable into the wheel at the top of the pole, we're going to make a shape like so, and place it into the wheel. We'll repeat the process with the crank side pole now. Once the net is attached, we can use the wrench to tighten it up. Our next step will be to undo all the cables that are attached to the net right now. We'll start with this bottom cable, followed by the black ties. Now we will take this cable and attach it like so. To demonstrate how this attachment works, you can see that we can tighten it, but it does not move. To give some slack, we will pull from the bottom here, which will create some slack in the rope. I'll undo the cables on this side as well. Now that we released all the cables, I like to start by tightening the bottom cable. As you can see, even if I tighten this, my net is still loose. So we will need to make an adjustment in order to reduce the amount of cable in the system here. To do so, we will pass the cable through the loop, bring it back around, and I will need to release this slightly so that it can reach. Once we're clipped in, we can then tighten it to hold the tension. I want to make sure that my net is properly prepared. The antenna goes directly over the sideline of our court, and as you can see, there's no place currently to place that. So we will slide the net over, make sure there is sufficient space here, and make sure that the net is straight up and down. To begin setting up the black ties, I want to go around and through. And my goal here is to make sure that these lines are straight, but not so much that I'm pulling the net, because this is already where I would like it to be. here, I'm going to tie a basic knot. However, instead of putting this end completely through, as I would for a normal knot, I'm going to create a knot that comes undone when I pull it. So, I'll create a loop, and only pass the loop through here. As you can see, this knot is strong, and also can be undone with a simple pull. I'll attach the black ties on this side as well, making sure that there is sufficient tension in the net. To help speed up the setup process, while some players are working on the net, other players may bring antennas, pads, and ball carts over to the court. Our antennas are right around the corner here, our pads are here, and our ball carts are here. To set up the antennas, first we must loosen the top so there is space. We will place the clip over the top of the net. And before tightening, we want to look and make sure that the antenna rests directly over the sidewall. To tighten the top part of the antenna, push and begin to twist. Once securely tightened, the antenna is not coming off. We will then secure the bottom. Perhaps the easiest part of the setup is placing the pads on the poles. Undo the Velcro. And secure it back in place. And now we're ready to place a volleyball. When we're ready to put things away, we want to make sure that things are done correctly so that setup in the future is easy. We want to return all the pieces of equipment to their correct places in the equipment room. First, we'll begin by removing the antennas and the pads. Next, we'll undo all the ties on the net. As you can see, these pieces are dangling, which means they're going to get in the way when we store the net. So, to avoid that, we're going to attach them to the net. We will use a similar knot that we use to secure the ties to attach them directly to the net here. And repeat for the other side. We'll loosen the net and take it over to the storage system. When storing the net, please keep your fingers clear of moving parts and keep the cables closer to the top of the storage system. While some players are storing the net, other players can take the poles back to the equipment room. We want to keep the poles off the floors as much as possible. As we prepare to store the poles, we want to make sure that this knob is facing out. That way we're not dinging it into the wall. I hope you now have a better understanding of how to set up, put away, and maintain our equipment. We're fortunate that we get to practice and compete in one of the finest facilities in this county. Thank you for joining me today, and go Mariners!